Hey, everybody. We are going to get started shortly. Thank you for attending. And for those of you that are with us, we'd love to know where you guys are from. So in the chat, let us know.
Let us know your name, where you're from, and so we know you better.
So we're going to start probably in a few minutes.
Just want to give people a little bit more time to get online so they don't miss any of this important information we're about to cover today.
Yeah, we have Dr. Santos standing by to
blow your mind.
Hope everyone's doing well. Let us know where you're from.
Hi, Carol, from Santa Barbara and San Rafael. Carol is a world traveler. All right, who else is here?
Don't be shy. Let us know.
Otherwise, we're going to unmute you and make you talk instead.
All right, we're going to get started here in a couple minutes, probably in about a minute or so. We'll get about 2 minutes.
Hi, James from North Hollywood. Welcome. I only see in California. Anybody else here representing the rest of the states?
Or the world, for
or
that
the
matter.
world, yeah.
We've got an amazing presentation lined up.
Ton of great content, ton of information. So you want to be ready to absorb all that. So grab some water as well while we're still waiting for more people to join us.
I just finished my bone broth soup. Yummy.
Happy?
Mm-hmm. All right, we got Steve from Denver. Welcome.
Welcome, Steve.
All right, we got another state representing.
Come on, let's make it 4. Mary, Mary from California as well. Okay, I see there is way more than 4 people online. Come on, guys. Don't be shy. Charlene from Las Vegas. Welcome, welcome. All right, this is getting better. Gina from Colorado. Let's keep it going. Carol, that is a very good question. What's the estimated length of this call? As long as it needs to be. We want to make sure that everyone gets their answers, whatever they came here for, get all the information that we want to share with you today. So we shall see.
The presentation should be anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour. This is the first time we're holding a presentation, so we haven't really timed it fully, but it should be about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll stick around and answer all the questions. So we'll be here as long as we need to be. So
John, yeah. Welcome. John from Michigan, and Rosalind by the beach in Marina del Rey. Nice. This is awesome. Nice, right. Sunny California.
Jerry says you can hear us okay. That's good news. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. All right. Well, it's 3:01.
Now, should we kick it off? Hopefully, you all are ready. So let me hit play on our presentation. So hello, everybody. We are live, and if you can hear me, please let me know in the chat box. So welcome to today's presentation. This is Larry, and I'm joined by my wife, Oksana, and we are incredibly excited for you to be with us today. As you could probably tell in the emails we've been sending you, this topic is near and dear to our heart. I think it's the wave of the future, and we're really excited to be the ones who give you access to this breakthrough that we've had in the world of natural health and healing.
Yep. And now, as we promised, we have one of the single smartest doctors that we've ever come across with us today. So I want you to know that he's one of the most well-respected and in-demand doctors in a natural health world, and his schedule is kind of crazy. So it's really an honor to have him with us today. His name is Dr. Carlos Santos. Some of you already might know him. And Dr. Santo is a brilliant health practitioner. He believes that the body has a unique ability to heal itself from the inside out, assuming you give it the proper tools to do so, right? His experience in alternative health is nothing short of stunning. Just to kind of give you a quick glimpse of who he is and why he is such a voice of authority on this topic, I want to quickly let you know just a few of his accomplishments. Dr. Santo graduated from Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine in 1997. He then went on to get a higher degree and graduated from Phoenix Institute of Herbal Medicine and Acupuncture in 2001. Now, most people probably would just stop there and get comfortable with a job, then coast through the rest of their lives. But not Dr. Santo. He continued to grow and expand his knowledge. He currently owns a private practice in both Phoenix and Scottsdale. He also worked personally with several great masters in the arts of Chinese medicine, martial arts, and yoga. In fact, he even has black belt degrees in several martial arts and is a master level yoga instructor.
That
It's nuts.
is incredible, right? So if you were to imagine an image of someone who epitomizes the picture of perfect health, it would be Dr. Santo. He has immense experience discovering what works and what doesn't work in a real life setting. Not just theory based on research studies, but actual real life people getting real life results with CBD. In fact, he has a unique viewpoint because he's not only read the research studies on CBD and understands how it works and why it's so effective, he's actually seen the real life results it produces. He gets a rare glimpse into the clinical aspects of CBD and has seen it work with hundreds of patients, all suffering from dozens and dozens of different challenges. Now, I could talk about him all day because he is stunningly successful and knowledgeable in this area, but I'd like to move the mic over to him and let him take over for a second. Hey, Dr. Santo, how are you today?
Good, thank you. How's everybody?
We're good.
We are good.
Well, I'm really happy to be on with you today. I'm actually blushing here as I listen to you talk about me. Those are accomplishments, yes, but none of that would make any matter at all if I didn't be in this for the right reason. That is to just help people and make a difference in this world. And that's my sole mission. So I am speaking to you from sunny Montanita, Ecuador at this time. I'm here for the month doing some medical relief work, studying some local plants and disorders. And I also have the distinct privilege of being able to assist in a 1 month long intensive yoga instructor training program. So lots of going on, keeping me busy down here, but it's certainly also a nice working vacation. So thank you again for this opportunity.
Amazing work, and
You just keep going.
Yeah, we're
That's
grateful to
amazing.
have you with us, especially all the way from Ecuador. So very cool. So everyone, now as we promised, we're going to be diving really deep into the world of CBD and many of the health benefits it has to offer. So even if you're not familiar with CBD or have spent a decent amount of time doing your own research, you're in for a real treat. What we're about to share with you will not only be eye-opening, but also thought-provoking, and we hope to draw a line in the sand and reveal who you can trust and who you can't. And being you're here with us, you can give yourself a pat on the back for trusting your gut instinct. Now, make sure to stay with us until the end because we have a really special bonus that will help you take your health even further. Here's a little hint. We're going to give you access to information used for centuries to gain more energy, boost immunity, improve stamina, and much more. You're going to love it.
Yep. So make sure you stay with us all the way till the end. All right. So I know a lot of you are really eager to start, and we are as well. But first, I just want to do a quick audio check. I know we already have some people telling us that everything's fine and they can hear us. But I just want to make sure that we get a few more confirmations, maybe 5-10 more people, just to confirm that the audio is fine. So if you can just put in a chat box that you can hear us fine. So far we see Gina and Jerry. Oh, welcome, guys. We see also New York, and many of you are being a lot more active. So thank you.
Yep. So Gina can hear us. James can hear us. Yes. Beautiful. All right. I think that we are okay. If a couple more of you can let us know just to make sure. All right. Yep. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Gary, Carol, Fern. All right. Awesome.
Beautiful.
So we are good to go.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting us know that the audio is good. Now, I want to start off by saying something really, really important. So please pay close attention to this. As you probably know by now, CBD is a really hot topic. Ever since that documentary about the 6-year-old girl, Charlotte, who became 99% seizure free and completely vanished her autistic symptoms, CBD has really taken off. We'll tell you a little bit more about her later. The problem with that is a lot of no good, slimy people are jumping into this market to try to take advantage of the opportunity. The FDA actually just did a huge crackdown and found that 75%, that's right, 75% of CBD supplements literally didn't even contain CBD in them. They were actually lying to you to try to make a buck, and that really makes us unhappy. So please be really careful when you're considering who to buy from. As you know, we have our own CBD product that we'll discuss a little later, but regardless who you buy it from, just please do your research and make sure you're buying it from someone you truly trust.
Exactly. And our promise to you today is to give you the honest truth about CBD, because you really do deserve nothing else but truth. So with that said, let me ask you a quick question. Up until now, what has been keeping you from trying CBD-based product on your own? Was it maybe because you just learned about it and needed to verify it as a good option for you to battle that current issue that you're dealing with? Or maybe you were worried about the legality of getting a product like this shipped to your home and hoping, no Fed's gonna show up. Or maybe you just need more information before making your final decision. Well, whatever that reason is, we respect all of that. And we want to make sure that we answer all your pressing questions, make sure that you are comfortable to make that decision by yourself. So we have a lot of customers who are actually buying CBD either for their children, for things like autism, epilepsy, or a bunch of other challenges, as well as their parents to help them fight cancer, maybe become a little bit more mobile, or even help their mental status. And I can't tell you how much that warms our hearts to hear a lot of people spending their own time doing the proper research to get this for someone they truly care for.
Yep. But look, we really realize there is a lot of bad information out there about this. And that's why we really urge you to keep an open mind and listen to us very closely. And if you do, you'll realize that an incredible opportunity is about to present itself, and it could really help you. And here's why. Today, we're going to help you get the answers to most of your burning questions about CBD. We're going to cover the legal side and what to look for, ensuring that you are in the safe zone making a purchase, plus all the science and benefits of taking CBD. We're going to be covering what it can do for your body and exactly show you how it works. We want you to be the most informed customers on the planet when it comes to CBD, and that's something you can be proud of. So you're also going to feel good knowing what you're doing is having a huge impact on those in need around you.
Yep. Also, one more small thing. So as we go through this presentation, if you have any questions whatsoever that come up, please type them in a comment box located to the right of your screen. We really love to hear your feedback. And as Larry said, we want to answer any pressing questions that you might have. Now, by the end of our time together, I want you to feel like you've made a wise decision to join us. And you will be able to look in the mirror and smile because you finally found that answer to a situation that's been plaguing you for a very, very long time. So we do invite you to try and set aside any preconceived notions. And let's start this with a nice, clean slate. And just listen along to what we have to say, because above all, we value your trust. We value each of your time, and we are very happy you're with us right now. So please set aside all your distractions, turn off your phone, and focus what we are about to share with you.
Yep. So before we hand it off to Dr. Santo, I want to talk a little bit about our story for those of you that don't know it. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm Larry and I'm here with my wife, Oksana. We run a number of health and personal development blogs aimed at educating people and raising awareness about the most effective ways a person can upgrade the quality of their life. It's a true passion. Every day we scour the net looking for ways to cut through the noise and confusion in the marketplace where you never know who the genuine and authentic voices are.
Yep.
And we regularly come across brilliant minds in this space and make it our business to remain open and learn as much as possible as we can for ourselves and most importantly for you. And it was through this diligent research that we came across a plant so powerful it was once viewed as medicine. It's a plant that we were familiar with but had no idea that it held so much power to change the lives of all those people in need. And digging deeper, it became really evident that the potential of this plant needed to be known and experienced. And it set course for what we are bringing to the world today. We named it Sol CBD, and Sol is a Latin word meaning sun. And our hope is to shine as brightly and become a beacon of hope for many. So with that said, and without any further ado, we're going to hand this over to Dr. Carlos Santo to lead this web class. Are you ready, Dr. Santo?
Yes, I am. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Carol, for your ongoing great questions. And just to clarify, I am in Montanita, Ecuador, in response to your question there. It's a small town, coastal town on the northernmost western coastline of Ecuador, bordering on Colombia. So it's actually a real big surfing mecca as well as yoga. Not that I surf, though. Try to preserve my body. So again, I'd like to just review my background here and sort of my credentials for being able to speak to this esteemed crowd today. I'm in private practice for 18 years now, since 1997, including my time also having studied evenings and weekends to get my degree in traditional Chinese medicine, all along just to improve my doctor-patient interaction and skill set. So that started in 1997. Fast forward to 2011, when Arizona first enacted the Medical Marijuana Act, and enabling patients to obtain legally a medical marijuana card to possess and, of course, use up to a restricted amount of 2.5 ounces on their person. That was a big breakthrough. But full disclosure, I have to let you know, my initial response was a knee-jerk one that many of my colleagues as well shared, and that was, no, we don't want this legalized because it's against federal law. And so I was conflicted. In fact, I'll even go as far as to admit to you that I voted against it. Again, this was out of ignorance, because up until that point in 2011, I was buying the same sort of byline, if you will, that was frankly created by the media and the government. And in several slides from now, you'll kind of understand, more about that perspective and the history, although I'm sure you're well aware of the colored history that marijuana in general has. But you'll see that it is largely unfounded, and this is why I'm here today to speak to you. As medical director of 4 state-sanctioned dispensaries, I am right there in the front lines of the day-to-day operations and training of the staff who are directly interacting with the general public. And so my role really as medical director, of course, is also not just for the, being able to keep the doors open, but also to make sure that the qualities and standards and guidelines are met as far as the education of the clientele who come in on the responsible use and the risks and side effects and signs of abuse, etc. And we also offer our customers in the dispensaries additional alternative options to medical marijuana, should those be in their best interests. Things such as biofeedback, chiropractic, and acupuncture, to just name a few. Prior to becoming medical director of those dispensaries throughout the state, I was actually directly certifying patients, assessing their health history, many of whom were my existing patients already, who wanted to get their cards. And that was very interesting to me because I started to see that the recurrent theme of the majority of those patients was, of course, pain, the most common reason why anyone would go to the doctor, and why over 100,000 Americans, 100 million Americans, almost virtually a third of the population, do experience significant amounts of acute and ongoing chronic pain in their body somewhere. And this is why CBD is so exciting. So I had the chance to see those people firsthand, getting better and going back to work, getting off of disability, getting off their pain and particularly their opioid pain medications. And that's what really, really started to open my eyes about this. Going forward, I have then had the opportunity to do lots of speaking and public speaking and lecturing throughout the state. And that's really been my life mission, is just to continue to educate people, not only on the science behind CBD and medical cannabis, but also the legalities of it. And we're going to cover quite a bit of legalities today. So if we look at the history, it's a very interesting and colorful history that medical cannabis has enjoyed. We see that it really does date back many, many centuries, if not thousands of years. Initial scriptures and writings date back to very old China and ancient Asia, to show that they were using cannabis in various forms for things such as malaria, gout, rheumatism, and even for forgetfulness. In other words, to create a sharper mind. The ancient Egyptians had some writings dating back to as early as 1213 BC that cannabis actually benefited glaucoma as well as inflammation, general inflammation in the body. And India has also enjoyed a history here of cannabis use, and it benefits in leprosy, dysentery, as well as depression. In ancient Greece as well, in the BC era, we see that cannabis was used for common problems as well, such as earache, inflammation, and edema. And again, more recently in China, it was shown as well in both first and second centuries to benefit, again, common conditions such as gout, malaria, and arthritis. And then it was even used later on by surgeons as an anesthetic. And then fast forward up to 1538 in Europe, medical cannabis was a common part of the pharmacopoeia. In other words, in the medical cabinetry of most of these people, most doctors, if not home householders themselves, were using it as a common medicinal tool. And of course, the initial settlers to the Americas, at least in North America, the Jamestown settlements were bringing hemp to North America as early as 1611, up to the 1700s. Hemp and cannabis have enjoyed a very extensive use and use in the United States, dating way back, as I said, to the 17th century, initially farmed as hemp. The specifics of and diversity of that plant we'll be talking about here in just a moment. And it actually officially entered into the U.S. Pharmacopoeia in 1854, its medicinal benefits. And by 1937, unfortunately, due to a variety of factors, we saw that every state at that point had criminalized cannabis for possession, sale, or use. That didn't stop doctors, though, from suggesting it and or prescribing it. And that was up until 1970, when the official squash happened in the enactment of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. And to this point that we found ourselves here in 2015, cannabis is still currently listed as a Schedule I drug. And defining Schedule I drug, ironically, the first subset of the definition is that this substance is to show no medicinal benefits. So right there we know that that's wrong, isn't it? Yet we have so many studies to the contrary. Here it's also suggested that it has high abuse potential. And I lost my slide for my third point. But you get the idea that none of those things are true. In fact, the virtual opposite is true. And as you're going to see, there's a lot of push to have cannabis legalized. And we'll see what that's about in just a bit. So if we look at the versatility of hemp itself, we've got a tremendously versatile and powerful plant. The stalk itself has numerous agricultural benefits because of the thickness of the stalks and shoots that it pushes out. It's great for suppressing weeds, so there's a less need for pesticides. For pollen isolation, it's wonderful. Soil improvement, and for maintaining healthy soil between crops that are laid down. And those deep roots are natural soil aerators. As far as building materials, you couldn't find anything more diverse. Fiberboard, insulation, fiberglass substitute, cement, in fact, is a patent out there for hempcrete used in many parts of the world. Stucco and mortar. Okay, so again, very powerful for building materials, and that's all part of the pulp or the herbs. And then you have the bast fibers, which are known as well for helping, of course, with printing paper, all kinds of paper, from fine to strong, newsprint, and even the strongest that we'll need for cardboard paper and packaging. As far as the industrial textiles, we're looking for rope, twine, nets, canvas, tarps, carpets, you name it. Composites, molded parts, and then linings for different motor parts. I mean, that's amazing itself. And then, of course, we go into the clothing aspect. Very durable, yet very wearable and breathable. Sound like a commercial, but different types of apparel, diapers, fabrics, handbags, denim, shoes, and fine fabrics. It really does make for wonderful clothing. And then, as far as the nutritive side, seed cakes, such as used for animal feed, as well as providing a very protein-rich source of fiber. Hemp seed oil is largely prized because it's got a very high omega-3 content for a non-animal source of omega-3 oil. It's wonderful. And of course, it can be used in dressings, as well as taken directly as a food supplement, as well as for cooking oil. And I do believe it has a fairly high flash point, making it stand up quite well to heat. As far as further industrial products, it's really great as a wood preservative, as well as for paints as a base, and as well for printing inks, solvents, lubricants, and then fillers such as putty and coatings. Personal hygiene for cosmetics, hemp seed oil acts wonderfully as a base for soaps, shampoos, bath gels, cosmetics, lotions, and balms. And in addition to working for animal feed, it also works as a great addition as a seed for granola or eaten by itself. If you've ever had hemp hearts, they taste really great, and they're really great in yogurt, things like that. And birds love them as well for bird seed. Of course, there's the CBD as medicine, which is the central focus really of this entire presentation. And trust me, we're going to get into that. It's really fun. And there is a negligible but present amount of THC, and that particular molecule is the one that's been largely studied. Of course, we have many tens of thousands of studies on THC alone, and we'll hear about that in a little while. So, despite its prolific history, the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 really was like the final sort of slam on marijuana. Up until that point, it had been widely used. As I said, I showed you that timeline of history. And you might ask, well, why? When you see the word tax, right away you have to follow the paper trail. You realize that there is revenue. The government was seeing lots of revenue with this product, hemp especially. That you saw how diverse it is. And exactly that. This Popular Science article dating back to 1932 showed the exact absolute diversity of the hemp plant, and how, in fact, with new machinery, their ability to extract out the fibrous portions of they call the cortex of the stalks, enabled farmers to mass produce. And they were making $15 per ton, and they were putting out about 3 tons an hour with this new machinery. And they saw a real cash cow with this. And the government, of course, wanted some of that money. And you might wonder, well, why? Why would they want to stop something that was so productive and producing so many jobs? This article really, in fact, went through and explained how many jobs this crop had the potential to create, and yet there was still the stigma. That's the thing, the stigma of the psychoactive component of cannabis, of marijuana, which really made it very difficult. It was a literal thorn in the side of this industry because it was unfairly grouped together with the other illegal substances that were already established as illegal, such as opium, heroin, and then, of course, you remember that alcohol for the very longest time during Prohibition was also considered illegal. And what you'll find is, yes, there was a huge conflict of interest when you think of big agri and big pharma to almost squash this, because one plant could substitute for copper, lumber, paper. Think about the number of industries, cosmetics, foods, all gotten from one crop. And so, of course, when people see that their bottom line is being affected, they're going to step in. But there's also another really dark aspect to this, because you might think, okay, so money, that's always happened, right? But what you don't realize too is there was just a lot of negative sensationalism, to the point where Hollywood movies were literally controlled, as well as the media, literally controlled as to what they could and could not present on behalf of marijuana. And a lot of this is deeply steeped in racism. This goes back a long way. As a matter of fact, the United States was not the first to criminalize marijuana. In fact, it started with in Great Britain in 1911, and shortly after that, the British colonies, including Jamaica and the U.S. Virgin Islands, before they were the Virgin Islands, and then eventually when they were the Virgin Islands, also experienced the criminalization of marijuana. And just like it was happening with Prohibition, there was a big concern that the immigrants were going to come in and increase their crime and attack our women. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but these were real quotes that were happening. And no one individual was more responsible for this than a fellow by the name of Henry, let's say his name right, Anslinger, who was the first commissioner on the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. And he also had served prior to that in a different government seat. And he also had, through marriage, a connection with the Mellon Corporate Foundation, who were part of the Hearst newspapers. So I found this out as I was digging deeper into the whole thing. And this gentleman, as you can see here, he made some, this was not the only racist remark that he made, but it was a very, poignant, and it was no question about where this man stood. And he literally would get up there and be quoted in various magazines, as well as newsprint and I believe television. And he directly influenced Congress. And he basically said that if we allow marijuana, just like cocaine, just like heroin, to be used in the poorer sections of society, that those minorities are going to, act up and commit more crimes. And yeah, sure, fast forward all the way up to the 1980s and 90s, and you see that the majority of the drug-related crimes that people are in prison, incarcerated for, you see are mostly Black and Hispanic individuals. And so, it's really sad to speak about this, but the history of, unfortunately, of racism goes way back, and it's not just the United States, but it does, really permeate the entire planet. And no better scapegoat is there ever going to be than the drugs, right? And so, of course, even though there was significant counter protests by the AMA in the 1930s, by the mayor of New York City, Fiorello LaGuardia, who, by the way, he held a Congress seat for 4 years prior to being the outstanding mayor of New York. He was very outspoken against this marijuana because he said it was unconstitutional, against our Fifth Amendment rights, and he was correct about that. But they didn't care. They pushed this through anyway, and again, it stood. And so marijuana was officially criminalized in 1937, and then doctors continued to write prescriptions for this drug up until 1970. Well, it was 1968, just before that Mayor LaGuardia really started to lean hard and say, you know, this is unconstitutional, and even Lyndon Johnson got behind him about this, but it wasn't enough. Congress ended up pushing through the Federal Controlled Substance Act, which really is where we stand today. And again, as I mentioned earlier, marijuana cannabis is seen as a Schedule I drug, meaning that it has no medicinal benefit and that it's high abuse potential. And as you know, and you're going to find out, that neither of those statements is actually true. So reintroduction as a medicine begins, and I'll take the next slide here, just a moment. So fast forward now to 1996, groundbreaking legislation, of course, in the state of California, always progressive. The first official law in the resurgence, the renaissance of medical marijuana. This law made it legal for patients and their designated primary caregivers to possess and cultivate marijuana for their personal medical use, given the recommendation or approval of a California licensed physician. So we're keeping it real, keeping it, of course, medically based, and that's the big key. And that's what we really are strict about here in the state of Arizona as well. Now, what's really funny is, what you'll see in front of you here on this slide, if you have an ability to look at your monitor, is if you look closely enough, you see that this is a US patent. And we entitle this slide Hypocrisy for a reason. That is because the US created, in fact, the United States created a patent for marijuana. Why would they do that? Well, because if you look in this paragraph here, they actually identify it for a number of conditions, including acute and chronic illness, cancers of many types, neurological disorders, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. And why would they do that if they didn't acknowledge it? Sometimes when you fear something the most, you go ahead and you join them. And I think that's what the best way I can describe what their thinking was on this. But also because they realized that this was still being used by many people, and it was still wanted by many people. They figured, let's patent it, so if anything, you know, we'll be able to control it, and if it ever does get out there en masse, if you will. But here's the written proof right in front of you, staring at this patent, that the government itself does support this. And as you know, you may know that Washington, D.C. is one of the legalized states, although it's not a state, denominations of the United States where it is legal to have a marijuana card. So yay to our politicians for having their cards. Now we need them to step up and actually push through and make this federally available. Take the next slide here. So a lot of questions come up about what's hemp versus cannabis. Well, as you saw, hemp enjoys a wide variety of uses industrially. Yes, it comes from a cannabis plant, but there are so many varieties out there that have been cultivated over the decades that hemp itself is cultivated specifically for its fibrous production, for its power, and it literally grows like a weed. It's very powerful. Yet, that being said, you know, it is still very workable as a medicine too. Cannabis itself is regarded, of course, for its medicinal and recreational uses. We can say that about any cannabis plant. However, when we're talking about medical marijuana, okay, speaking of cannabis, it is cultivated to produce the resinous buds for the desired effect. It's those buds that are smoked or created into oils, etc. And it's either 23 or 24 states. It's always growing, and there's legislation going, but we're almost at halfway as far as the United States goes to permit for medicinal purposes. And it is fully decriminalized in Washington and Colorado. And I see here in our column, our right column, that we actually have some people from those states in on this webinar. Now, speaking specifically about hemp again, you saw its diversity in use earlier. It's typically not cultivated to produce buds. Well, the buds that are created are much smaller. Provides a much higher concentration of CBD, though, than THC. And that's important to note. And historically, it is considered for, as you know, for its industrial and textile uses. And then as early as the 1950s, it became unfairly grouped in with the THC containing high THC cannabis and became largely unavailable from that point on. Despite this, we do see health food stores importing it and create into products, as I said earlier, topically, with oils, nutritionally, internally, protein powders, and things like that. But it must be imported. And as you know, it's cultivated, of course, for its fibrous, non-resinous components, again, for a number of industrial purposes. The US is the largest consumer of hemp products. However, like I said, it must be imported, and it is unlawful to grow or very difficult to obtain permits to grow. And please note here that it does contain a very negligible or small amount of THC. In other words, you cannot get busted using hemp because it will not show up on a drug test. Let's go on to the next slide. So, as you see, conflict of interest, infringing on other people's turf. Hemp could be a stronger, better, cheaper replacement for cotton and timber, saving our forests and putting more farmers to work. Just go back to that National Geographic article if you get a chance to read it. Very well written for a 1930-something article. Not to mention how sustainable hemp is, how sustainable it is. We're not cutting trees down, I'll take the next slide here. Sometimes my feed's a little slow here, but we are seeing a tide turn as far as what's on the horizon. I go to medical conferences, and nothing excites me more than when I see statements like this, position statements from the American Medical Association, particularly the American Academy of Neurology and Pediatrics, as you'll see in the next two slides. They've actually come up with position statements asking for that for research purposes, that the reclassification of marijuana-based products from their current Schedule 1 to Schedule 2 so that we can improve access for study under the approved research protocols. In other words, decriminalize it so that we can study it. If we can't study it, we can't know its full potential. But that's not stopping these studies from happening around the world. They are happening, but just think what could happen if we can get government funding behind these studies, and then private industry, private sector coming in and not being afraid of government crackdowns, being able to put money into these studies, because this is where we need. We can't just rely on animal studies. We need valid human clinical trials as well. So yay for taking a step forward, the Academy of Neurology and Academy of Pediatrics, both big major AMA installations, who are saying, hey, we want to know more about this stuff. We're seeing lots of anecdotal research and information and evidence, I should say, and let's look at it more. Go ahead, you want to move that on? And of course, we know who Sanjay Gupta is, and he's not backing down. In fact, he's doubling down. And he was actually speaking with Coach Pete Carroll of the Seattle Seahawks, and because he is very interested, both him and Pete Carroll are interested in the potential for CBD, specifically for concussions. Concussions, as you know, have become a huge issue in pro sports, but none other than in football. And a number of prized athletes have actually killed themselves, and they related that severe depression they were having to those concussions. And cannabis long recognized as a neuroprotectant, helping benefit recovery from strokes, concussions, and neurological disorders is the first line of treatment that we're considering. And then after Dr. Gupta, of course, we see that he actually put out that wonderful 3-part series. If you haven't had the chance to, it's pretty lengthy, but go on there. He covers it from top to bottom, inside out, economically, politically, and of course the science. And then most importantly is the real case, live case studies that in his report of the science of weed. And of course, you may have already heard about Charlotte Figge, and this of course is a very emotional case. This darling little one, before the age of 1, was experiencing Dravet syndrome, which essentially is irretractable seizures on the like of about 300 per hour, if you could imagine. 300 per week, but multiple ones per hour. She was having just There's no luck with anything. And no matter what test they ran on poor Charlotte, they could not find anything but a wonderfully healthy, toddler. And that was the crazy thing, was they couldn't even find out why. But they sure were drugging her with a number of known anti-seizure medications, none of which were helping her until, of course, her parents, her mom specifically decided to look at cannabis. And what they found was what you'll see here in this very brief video. And I'll go ahead and let you guys cue that up. And please go ahead and just patiently watch this for just a couple of minutes. And I think you'll really enjoy it, even if you've seen it before. Okay. Well, that was very touching, wasn't it? I can't watch that enough and just not be reminded of how important this work is. And I'm so glad that you are all on with us today here. So why does CBD work so well? That's the big question. We've isolated a number of compounds in medical cannabis. And to date, roughly 85 isolates have been identified. They're known as cannabinoids. Cannabinoid essentially is just a scientific word for a component of the cannabis plant. But the cannabinoids are not the only player in the game. We have wonderful components of the molecules called terpenoids and phenols. They are very, very promising, and a lot of research is going towards those as well. The terpenoids and phenols, you can look at them as what give the character to the specific strain of marijuana plant. So you notice they have different catchy names. A lot of times there's names that are associated with the taste or the aroma of the buds. And those terpenoids and phenols give those specific characteristics to the marijuana plants. Now, everybody always thinks of THC when it comes to medical marijuana or marijuana in general. Why is that? Well, because THC, up until really the 1980s, was the only component of the cannabis plant that was ever considered. Because why? What do most people think of when they hear about pot? They think about getting high and using it for recreational purposes. And unfortunately, while that is the case, THC has really gotten a bad rap because, yes, it gets you high, but it also is extremely medicinal, very, very beneficial. And as you know, it has, and I'll get into it a little bit here, but it has numerous broad-reaching benefits beyond just getting high. Now, CBD is the real star of our presentation because, unlike its cousin here, it is found in smaller concentration generally in most strains of cannabis. However, it is non-psychoactive, and it's that specific reason, that CBD is really starting to get researched in medical circles, getting discussed in medical circles, because we don't want patients having the psychoactive effect necessarily, especially when we're treating non-psychoactive conditions. It's gaining lots of momentum. And of course, also CBD, unlike THC, is legal. So extensive medical benefits, non-psychoactive and legal. That's what we focus on here with CBD. Next slide, please. So you can't talk about the cannabinoids. I'm not talking about the endocannabinoid system. And this is sort of central, ground central, if you will, of where all the research is pointing. If you think about a lock and key system, the keys being the cannabinoids and the terpenes and phenols, if you will, as well, and then the actual locks being the receptor sites, then we have this system of lock and key that enables these molecules to do their job in various sites of the body. And now you see here 3 of the more dominant cannabinoids that are isolated: CBD, CBN, and THC. They just fit like a lock and key, as I said. Their primary affinity is for the CB1 and CB2 receptors. The CB1 receptors are largely in the central nervous system. That would be the brain spinal cord. That's where a lot of our higher brain function occurs. And then the CB2, if you could think of it, is more the peripheral nervous system, associated more with what's going on away from the brain and spinal cord. And this, of course, is also very strongly associated with the immune system. But also the parasympathetic nervous system very much is turned on here, and the CB2 receptors. So we're thinking about the health of the organs, think of the CB2 receptors. As I said, there's just an exponential growth in the studies of the endocannabinoid system. And as you can see by this little graphic here, those receptors are throughout the body. Organs, muscles, probably bones, definitely glands. And this is why there's such broad-reaching benefits from the plant. Okay, wonderful slide, beautifully graphed. And of course, and we're back to THC again. Also, the chemical name, of course, scientifically, delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, is what we're talking about here. And again, this is the one that causes the high. its primary affinity is for CB1 receptors, although it will also bind to the CB2s. And as I said, it's responsible for the high. Its main benefits have been isolated, or in pain, nausea, anorexia. That's appetite loss and weight loss associated with a lot of chronic disorders such as HIV and cancers, and then psychiatric disorders, right? Because it is going to relax you. However, it does show up in blood, urine, and hair analyses. That means they can test for it. And being that it is a Schedule I drug, it is illegal. So if it is found in your system, then you are subject to legal consequences if you have been measured for it. Or say if your employer has a drug policy, no zero tolerance policy, again, it can show up like that. However, as this next slide shows, we have CBD, also known as cannabidiol. Okay, cannabidiol has no THC in it. It is a different molecule. It has a stronger affinity for CB2 receptors, but it also works outside of the CB or the cannabinoid receptors entirely, because it's not limited to just the CB receptors themselves. It has a more broad-reaching, full effect, and it is actually likely even to be antagonistic, which is very important when we're talking about reducing the psychoactive potential. And as I said, other non-CB receptor effects are being looked at, and one of them is actually in potentiating anandamide, which is an endocannabinoid, something the body already makes. And what CBD might do is make anandamide more available on the presynaptic side of the neuronal exchange from presynaptic to postsynaptic. In other words, affecting neurological transmission of this wonderful feel-good molecule. And by the way, ananda in Sanskrit is the word for bliss. And so anandamide essentially is an amide, or a chemical compound with the ability to create tremendous bliss in the body. It makes you happy. And it does not cause the high associated with, quote, marijuana. And as I said, it is not tested for in drug screenings. You cannot get busted for having CBD in your system because they won't even know to look for it. I'll take the next slide here. Well, look at this. We have just a number of bodily systems that react positively to CBD, as you can see here. So if your questions come in, what about HIV? What about prostate cancer? What about, Huntington's chorea? What about Parkinson's disease? What about seizures, epilepsies? You can see here, it's broad-reaching. We see the neurological, pulmonary, cardiac, endocrine, immune, dermatological, digestive, musculoskeletal, psychiatric. These are just, a small set. Of course, these are the major functions, systems of the body. But we have literally tens of thousands of studies that you just punch in cannabidiol, you just punch in marijuana, you just punch in cannabis, you will see all of this stuff, studies being conducted throughout the world. So this is obviously very important. And science is not going to go anywhere it does not see opportunities. Let's take the next slide. So how does it work? Well, as I said earlier, and this is about correct statistics, about 88% of the cardholders, at least in the state of Arizona, have it for this condition, pain. Pain is something that has to be quantified. You can't just walk in and say I have pain. It has to be a chronic and ongoing measurable condition that is still active. So we're pretty strict in Arizona. We don't let you just walk in and say, hey, this hurts. No. You've got to have documentation. CBD is really showing a lot of promise. Patients are finding that pain and inflammation are significantly reduced. That's important, folks. We're not just blocking pain like the opioid pain medications do. We're not doing that. We're not even changing your perception of the pain. No, we're actually working at the receptor sites to reduce the inflammation. Now, what drugs can really promise that? Well, I can tell you, ibuprofen I consider quite a miracle drug, and I love it. Use ibuprofen in concert with CBD, and you've got a wonderful combination, assuming that there's no contraindications for using ibuprofen. So you might consider it to potentiate the effect of the CBD. I would take them apart, though, not at the same time. CBD is also shown to benefit certain types of cancers, only a few of which are named here: breast cancer, lung cancer, multiple myeloma, as well as glioblastoma, brain cancer. And I recently posted an article here on Be Well Buzz, I believe, it should be up there on prostate cancer. I do have another one coming up for breast cancer. And keep an eye out also for one on psychiatric disorders. Go ahead and move on, please. And of course, as you saw in that wonderful video with Charlotte, very emotional, but yet CBD does reduce seizure frequency and severity in infants, children, and adolescents. And I have no reason to believe that it's any less effective for adults. I know that was a question that came through, and I don't have the specific data to cite for it, but listen, CBD is a neuroprotectant, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It will benefit neurological disorders. As far as Alzheimer's here on the next slide, Parkinson's, again, why we like the CBD is because it does not cause the high. Now, specifically in Alzheimer's, for instance, where short-term memory is a significant issue, long-term memory is often there in these patients. They can remember what they did when they were 6 years old, what mom's apple pie tasted like, but they forget what they had for lunch today. They forget what their birthday is. They forget what today's date is. But we see these things coming back when using CBD and high CBD concentrate strains. And then same thing for the next slide is Parkinson's, I believe. And we're seeing, because Parkinson's, again, is more of a peripheral neurological condition. Yes, it starts in the brain, central nervous system, but it affects the periphery. These people have the ability to cognate, can think, but neurologically they cannot function. And so as a neuroprotectant, as an antioxidant, as an anti-inflammatory immune booster, we like the CBD without, again, risking the high associated with THC therapy. If they are on something that contains THC, we can use the CBD several hours later, kind of like offset the two, and it does work that way. And this is what I personally found in my own clinical work. I've just got a couple of very brief case studies here to share with you. I've had one very successful case of a man who was able to get off of disability, get off his opioid pain meds, and get back to work. This is somebody who wanted to work, and he was defined. He defined himself by his ability to work, and when his low back pain caused him to not be able to function anymore at work, he had to stop and just take disability. And now, as of today, he is working back in the paper mill in northern Arizona, and that is very, very exciting for him. A stage 4 pancreatic cancer patient. Unfortunately, this patient, who was also a good friend of mine, has recently passed several months ago. But at the time, he was doing quite well. We just diagnosed this too late, of course, because that's often the case with pancreatic. But what we found was when he was finally open to taking high CBD strain oil, that we were able to get him off of his morphine for pain, off his Ativan for his night terrors. He was having horrible night terrors, and off his nausea and vomiting medications. He was no longer vomiting. He was no longer nauseous, and all from one intervention. That was the high CBD strain oil that he was taking. So we really did improve his quality of life for the time of his diagnosis until his demise. And then I have this really wonderful 87-year-old patient who started the medical marijuana on his own before he came in to see me. And he was doing quite well with the initial strain he was using. And again, significant improvement. But once I switched him over to a much higher, he wasn't getting the high anymore that he was experiencing before. Remember, as I said, yes, Alzheimer's is a central nervous system condition, but these patients can ill afford having anything that's going to detract from their short-term memory. So, we've got to really be careful sometimes and pick and choose our battles when we use the higher THC strain. Or in a case like this, my preference, my bias is to steer away from the THC and more toward the CBD for this exact reason. And by the 7th week mark of seeing me, he was remarkably improved to the point where he's playing cribbage again with his grandchildren. When he would teach them, he had forgotten how to play, and he's back to playing cribbage again. I don't even know what cribbage is, but I know it takes a brain to use it, to play it, and that's pretty cool. I'll take the next slide. Oh, I'm so proud of that gentleman. I'll just tell you one more thing. He's able to just now keep score at his grandson's baseball games again. I'm sorry for jumping back, but it really is exciting when you hear little anecdotes like that. And that's just real life evidence for me. That's the way the real science is. He can keep score of his grandson's game. In fact, keep a little box score and everything, and know what's going on, rather than just stare aimlessly at the field and not have any commentary at all. So again, very cool. How will we hear now we look at the current landscape as we draw this toward a close. where are we going in the future here? What do we need? And you'll see this little pyramid pop up, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, here it is. So we're going to look to further unlock the potential of the endocannabinoid system. Again, that central sort of processing system, we've got to look more deeply involved and see where that's going to take us. Legislation, of course, and legalizing hemp and cannabis in all states, not just for research purposes, but for actual production, get people working again, and have things that are more sustainable than cutting down trees. Performance of FDA-approved safety and efficacy trials. In other words, legalizing so that we can study this and really unlock its full potential. For identify disease response to cannabinoid therapies, very important, very important. And that's going to happen, of course, with the legalization. And then precision dosing. Precision dosing, we have to know specifically what and how much and when. And this is, again, the result of studies, trial and error. Great slide. Let's move on here. So bring your body back to health. And really, as I said, our mission is to bring this out to the public, bring it to you. And I can't think of a more important way to make a difference in the world than to bring this information to you. And I'm so glad to have this audience today to just to listen and be open, and hopefully we've answered your questions. And if not, we're going to have a little Q&A once Larry and Oksana now take it over from here. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Carol Santed, for walking us through such an amazing presentation. Every time we talk to you, we learn something new. It's been fantastic. I hope everyone enjoyed it. So at the beginning of this web class, we promised to carefully examine all of the objectives, fears, and frustrations that some of you that are seeking quality online sources of CBD that they can trust, right? So we went through the history of this amazing plan and helped you see why the current laws are in place. We covered all the health benefits of CBD. We shared with you how CBD works in your body. And now I would like to check in and ask you, did you find today's presentations valuable? I would like to hear some answers and see if this helped you go through these objectives, objections, and maybe questions that you had in your mind, and have we helped you solve them?
Yep. So before we kind of get into a little bit of a review of this and open it up to Q&A, like we'd like to know your thoughts. And as you know, it's our mission to be the voice of health you can trust. And we really love and appreciate your feedback. And, tell us what you felt and what parts of the presentation stuck with you the most. Let us know what really touched you on a deep level. I mean, honestly, do you feel like we answered most of your questions and installed enough confidence in you to be able to make a comfortable decision about using CBD? Now, I hope so, but if not, we're going to have a Q&A in a moment to answer any questions that we didn't cover. But let us know in the chat and tell us if we did a good job covering most of your questions. And if not, we'll answer yours in a moment here.
We've seen a lot of questions come up, and don't worry, we will be answering them. I keep track of all of these, and many of you actually submitted questions when you are registering for this web class. So, Mary wants to know more about Soul CBD and dosing. We will address that in our Q&A. But was it helpful, Mary? Was this presentation gave you some answers and made you more comfortable with, the whole concept of using the hemp plant, as a lot touted as illegal and this and that and what others going to think. So we just want to get some of your feedback on the presentation itself.
I know there's a little bit of a delay between us talking and you hearing it. So we don't want to hold this.
Google Hangouts,
yes.
But
so we have a lot of questions here and we are getting some feedback. So absolutely. Thank you, Steve.
So I'm just trying to read through some of the comments here.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. Well, let's move on.
All right. So now that we have officially educated you on the amazing benefits of CBD, we know that some of you may still have some hesitations. And in our experience, the main reason that most people don't want to buy CBD and implement that as in their regimen is simply due to either not knowing about it or it's just fear. And I think all the stigma from politics to religion, as well as listening to the media, growing up will block many people dead in their tracks. Everybody has been taught to trust the man in a white jacket and authorities telling us what to do and what not to do. But now we got Dr. Carlos Sando, who also wears white jackets sometimes, and he tells you otherwise.
Yeah. Plus, of course, we all feel the stigma that might be attached to taking something that has a connection with marijuana. I want to remind you that our CBD is made from organic industrial hemp plants, so it has zero connection with marijuana and has no psychoactive components whatsoever. During the presentation, someone asked whether marijuana, cannabis, and hemp are the same. They are not, and we could go into that in a little bit. Some people still do feel a little bit strange about it, though, so I want to urge you not to let that cloud your judgment. So many people go through life wondering what others will think about them, when in reality, if you want to make a change in your life and feel better, you really have to show some mental fortitude and do what you know is right.
Yep. And we want you to trust that we know that what we have to share with you right now is actually the right thing for you. I know the burdens and some of you might carry, and I know that there is a really good likelihood that you are actually looking for a solution, not just for yourself, but probably someone you care about as well, like your family members, your children, your parents. And so we are very, very, very excited to actually give you something real and a tangible solution that can help you.
So over a year of intense research, we are excited to provide you guys with a solution. And it's a solution which will wake up the healthy cells in your body, forcing them to fight for you again. In short, we've sourced a custom CBD formula for people who want to reactivate their body's inner healing system. Instead of trying to force your body to cover up whatever disorder, disease, or illness you're dealing with, it actually instructs your cells to heal your body from the inside out, to heal the source of the problem itself and put your body back into a state of health and natural healing.
Yep. We called our formula Soul CBD, whole body activation, and it is very, very powerful. We'll give you all the details in just a second, but I want you to know that if you already know that you would like to give it a try, you should see a link in the chat and on the screen right now. Let me actually put that in a chat as well so you guys can see it.
And we're going to give you a discount.
Yep. For all of you amazing human beings showing up today, learning about CBD and cannabis and what it can do for you, we want to give you extra 10% off just for staying with us and listening to us, taking your valuable time and sharing with us. Now, I do realize that a lot of you would like maybe more information before you're making your decision. So let's talk a little bit about why it is such a unique CBD formula.
Well, first, let's talk about hemp. The first thing I'd like to talk about, and this is why it's a really high quality CBD, is it's grown with high quality hemp. And to be compliant with all these federal laws, our exclusive variety of hemp is grown organically in the ideal climate for hemp, which is actually Scandinavia, without the use of harmful herbicides, pesticides. You should also know that our product is 100% raw, vegan, it's gluten-free, non-GMO, soy-free, nut-free, and free of any artificial coloring and flavoring. It is quite literally the most natural, organic, healthiest hemp in the world. And you should know that the oil we extract from the stems and stalks of this plant, which is where CBD comes from. Now, a lot of people are selling CBD coming from hemp seeds, which actually contains barely any CBD at all. Ours comes from the stalks themselves, as well as the leaves, which is virtually where all the CBD is held. You should also know that even after all of this, we still maintain a lot of checks and balances to make sure that each bottle goes out perfectly every single time. And we trust our manufacturer with our lives, but we still like to make sure things are perfect before they go out. And that's why we actually triple test each bottle for absolute purity. So you're going to get 100, so you guys are 100% sure you're getting the highest quality ingredients available.
Exactly. Now, with that said, let's talk a little bit about turmeric. As some of you heard, we also use turmeric in our formula. So not only do you get all the amazing benefits of CBD, but Also, it is synergistically blended with turmeric, which actually makes it water soluble. Turmeric is also called Indian gold, is one of the best gifts from Mother Nature that has been used for thousands of years to help with all kinds of different disorders and issues. It has been scientifically proven to bring your low energy cells back to life, forcing them to become more alive and flourishing. It also supercharges your immune system to the point where it's actively removing unwanted stress from cells, which allows them to do their job with much less effort. It also breathes in new life into the bones and joints to reduce inflammation, add more mobility, and make you feel like you are, I don't know, 20 years younger or so. It also creates and repairs old damaged neural connections to give you that sharp, clear thinking that you had in your 20s. It also boosts your metabolism that leads to improvement and weight loss, while healing major organs like the heart, your skin, and reproductive system to get you back to that optimal levels of production. Another amazing aspect of turmeric is that our lead scientists discovered when you combine CBD with turmeric, it makes it water soluble. So having it water soluble gives it two distinct benefits. Water soluble ingredients enter your body that are used up as needed by your body, and it also allows your body to absorb these nutrients almost instantly. But it doesn't end there.
Yep. We also have a nanotechnology piece, which is very unique to the Soul CBD formula. So the nanotechnology we use to actually create it is really powerful. We're using something called hybrid nanoengineering, which is the latest scientific breakthrough from over 30 years of intense research and development by Dr. Miwa Singh. And by mimicking the natural processes of the human body, Dr. Singh has discovered a way to dramatically improve the bioavailability and absorption of CBD and Ayurvedic herbs through a patented nanotechnology, which is not only making them water soluble, but also small enough to pass effortlessly through your cell walls. And this is a huge, huge breakthrough in technology. And it's also patented and it's proprietary. So I can't give you all the details of how it works, but what I can tell you is that hybrid nanoengineering shrinks the particle size down to roughly 1/100th the thickness of a human hair, so really small. And this allows it to penetrate your cell walls for maximum bioavailability. Now, here's where things get really exciting. Because our formula is produced using this advanced technology, you actually don't need as much CBD in each pill to get the results you're after. Now, I want you to know that the CBD is one of the most expensive ingredients in the world to put into a formula for obvious reasons. And that's why if you've done any research, you know that it's more expensive than your average fish oil or whatever other health supplement you might be taking. But because we're using the latest hybrid nanoengineering technology, it means we can actually use less CBD to get an even better result. And we've figured out a way to pass those savings right on to you. That's why you'll see that our pricing is actually less expensive than our competitors, even though we're getting you better results. Now, another fantastic bonus that came as a result of this unique way that we manufacture Soul CBD is that in the vast majority of cases, you'll never have to worry about any side effects. If you look around and see the reviews of traditional CBD supplements, you'll find that a lot of people have some weird side effects. And this mostly has to do with the oil they use. It can easily go bad, causing things like upset stomach, or some of them have bad taste. But ours doesn't have any of that. So another big question that comes up is legality. Is our product legal? And the answer is 100% yes.
As Dr. Santo mentioned, we covered a lot of it when it comes to legal stuff. Again, the big differentiation between the CBD from cannabis plant and hemp plant, I want everybody to understand, I get these questions quite often. The CBD can be extracted from either medicinal cannabis that you can grow inside the United States in states that have legalized marijuana, and you can get a prescription for, right? The other way to extract CBD is from industrial hemp plants that are grown outside of US and imported in the form of oil. And this is exactly what we have. So it is 100% hemp-derived CBD. It's not cannabis-derived CBD. It contains no THC. There are no federal regulations that are applicable to CBD. There's no risk in drug testing and will not get you high.
All right. So now that we've discussed the uniqueness and legality of our formula, I'm sure you're excited to try it out. So let me discuss the options you have to get it shipped to your door. Right now, we're offering 2 options for Soul CBD. Number one, some people want to try it just to see how it works for them, but they're not quite ready for a full commitment. And that's understandable. We respect that decision, which is why we created an option where you can get a one-time order, get it shipped to your doorstep in just a few days. If this is what you're looking for, just head over to the link you see on the screen.
Now, on the other hand, if you would rather save money and have us send you a bottle every single month, you also have an auto ship option. And we actually have a ton of people on auto ship. That way it eliminates any kind of headache. Oh my goodness, I'm going to miss it this month. Oh, it's not coming on time. It eliminates all these worries. So if you also you're also going to get a nice discount for choosing auto ship program. As we mentioned before, we love passing on the savings to you when we can, because we know this is a little bit more expensive than your typical supplement. The reason it is a little more expensive is because it is so much more labor-intensive process to extract the type of CBD oil that we are extracting and importing it into the United States. It's really like anything in this world. Yes, you can always opt in for a cheap and quick fix, but trust me, you will not notice the difference and could even actually end up with some serious health issues down the road. But if you want great results, it is in your best interest to go with the option that is the best in the industry. So anyway, if you're ready to get on our auto ship program, simply head over to the link you see on the screen. As soon as you place the order, our fulfillment center will ship your package of Soul CBD, and you should receive it within 3 to 5 business days. Overnight and second day options are also available during checkout. However, just wanted to mention this, that any orders that are received after 2 p.m. on Friday, which is tomorrow, they will be shipped out Monday morning. So it will take a little bit longer. So I also thought I should mention that we've had a couple of people asking about shipping outside the United States. And we get a ton of people with this. But unfortunately, at this time, we are not shipping international. But we are working hard to have that option available. And at this point, we don't have it just yet. So if you want to be added to our waiting list, please email us at shipping@soulcbd.com, and we're going to add you to the list, and we'll notify you when this option becomes available.
Yep. So now you're seeing the pricing that's on the screen. And like I mentioned, we're giving a nice discount to anybody who wants it conveniently delivered on a monthly basis. Plus, for all of you hearing my voice, you're going to get an additional 10% off on your initial order. The retail price of Soul CBD is $127, but it's currently on the site at $117. Now, with the webinar discount code you see on the screen, you're going to get another $11.70 off, which brings the special web class price to $105.30, and that's over $21 of savings. And if you'd like to enjoy our auto ship program, the regular price is $107 per month minus another 10%, which brings your monthly cost to just $96.30, saving you over $30. And of course, there's long-term commitment or anything like that. And if you know us, you know that our sole focus is making sure you get results. That's why we're not only having a money-back guarantee, which I'll get into in a second. We also have set up a system which allows you to cancel your auto ship without having to call anyone. It's super simple. You just log in and you see a button that's marked cancel subscription, and that cancels it really quickly.
Yep. Plus, I want you to know that we believe in Soul CBD so much that we are willing to stand behind it 100%. If you don't see improved results in your overall being, we insist you ask for your money back, okay? And we will provide you a refund without any questions, all right? What I would like you to do is give Soul CBD a solid test drive for 30 days. If during the first 30 days you don't experience everything that we promised, just keep the bottle and we'll send you your money back. It's really that simple. You know we are here to take care of you, and you know we stand behind everything we do. That's why we decided to take 100% of all the risk on us. So again, just go to the link that you see on your screen and simply click the link in the chat box and pick the right option for you. Either it's auto ship or you just want to give it a try.
Yep. So again, we want to thank you again for watching. It's truly been an honor to help educate you about this amazing formula, and we believe that we've given you hope that there is a bright, healthy future for you or a person you're considering buying from. Obviously, I don't know you or your specific situation, but I can say that I've personally witnessed some incredible and remarkable transformations that happen to our customers already. And it's absolutely amazing what your body can do once you give it the tools to simply heal itself, rather than force feed it with harsh, dangerous medications that just mask the symptom and cause even more problems.
So I wanted to thank you again today for taking the time out of your day and joining us on this web class. If you have any questions, please do know that we are here for you to answer them, and feel completely comfortable and confident about your decision. So before we go, we want to make sure that we also share what's the bonus that we promised you in the beginning of this web class, and we will start answering your questions.
Yep. So here's the bonus. If you go to soulcbd.com/chi. So there's literally thousands of Chinese medicinal herbs and mushrooms out there, and we did a lot of research and discovered the top 20 you should use for energy, stamina, and stress release. This special report goes into detail on the top 20 most potent medicinal herbs you can start using immediately and see remarkable improvement in your overall health. And we're giving it away for free. It's 880-page book, so has recipes in it. It's amazing. Go grab that now. And with that said, let's you want to jump into some Q&A?
Yep, let's do that. Because we had people, some of them that had to leave, and a lot of the questions are still coming in. So again, if you have any questions right now, please put them still in the chat box so we can answer them while you're still here with us.
Yeah. So yeah, Dr. Santo, let's talk about a few of the questions that we got in prior to this first, and then we'll take the ones that came in during our presentation. So I'm just going to kind of roll through these. Obviously, we can't make any medical claims, and we have to keep things to the letter of the law. Otherwise, we won't be able to do any of this or help anyone because we'll be in jail. So no medical claims at all. And let's see, the first question: what will it take to convince the average person that hemp and cannabis are beneficial? Hopefully, we did a good job with that on this presentation. We are recording this, so for those of you still on want to re-listen, that will be played. How does this compare with Rick Simpson oil? Well, Rick Simpson oil will get you really high, and it does have amazing medicinal benefit, but it comes with some side effects of
unfortunately, like you basically will be incapacitated. You won't be able to do anything. The Rick Simpson oil is great, and it's a very, very strict protocol for people, let's say, who have serious conditions that they have to battle through. But again, for the first months, you basically will need somebody to take care of you.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Santo?
Well, like you said, it is the psychoactive component is very significant, the RSO. However, it does have a tremendous background and history, recent history, but there are a lot of anecdotal, evidence of good effect in many people. So the difference really is we're talking about CBD isolated versus the full plant signature, which is in the RSO, which means you do run the risk of the high associated with it, as well as the getting caught with it in your system, which again is a big issue for a lot of people.
Yeah,
exactly.
So we got a lot of questions about disease, and if you've been paying attention, I think you could easily see that there's some benefit there. You could go online and do some searches and find some studies on any of the diseases.
There's so many publications of studies on even PubMed. If you just go and Google, let's say, CBD and diabetes, you will find a ton of studies that have been showing promising results of how that can help any of the conditions.
How much is too much as far as dosage? Do you have any recommendation, Dr. Santo?
I mean, it's it's always best to start off conservatively and to see if there's any digestive challenge really, and you can always go up, right? So base it on your symptoms. Your body weight will determine, of course, and a lot of it, but go by how you feel and how well you tolerate it in order to determine your best dosing.
Topical use.
Skin cancer. Could you just break up the capsule? I'm hearing very.
I'm sorry, are we talking to me? I just kind of.
Yeah. So as far as topical use, what would you suggest?
Like, can you just break out the capsule and mix it with water and do like a compress of sorts or something like that?
You certainly could. I wouldn't suggest it that way though. I don't know that you're going to get the absorption. If you're talking about directly on a basal cell or something like that, I couldn't tell you. But are you asking about it in context of pain? I don't know that you get the desired effect that way that you would internally, just because of the specific nano presentation of the molecule.
No, people were asking more like a skin cancer and those kind of conditions, not necessarily pain.
Right. Maybe even eczema or psoriasis you could consider for that as well. What I can suggest is try it, and if nothing else, mix it with a little bit of an oil, olive oil, say. Wouldn't be a bad move, or hemp oil if you have access to it, and then just make that in a greater concentrate and apply it directly to the area. I would love that feedback though if you do that, and feedback to us and let us know what your experience is.
We're gonna have a balm at some point. I've used balms with CBD and THC, and I have found some benefit to them as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. So we answered some of these.
Jerry had a question. He was saying, how do you modify the CBD THC components to keep cannabis oil working after cancer? He said in his case, he had prostate cancer and he became resistant to the treatment 2 years after that.
Yeah, it depends on what he meant by, and I understand fully his history, of course. Was he basing that on the PSA or other values? Was there a change in a biopsy? Did he still have his prostate intact? I was just curious to know those things. It's hard to know without getting more into detail what he meant by it stopped working. Mm-hmm. However, whenever something stops working, it's a good idea to reevaluate and reassess and change things. So maybe changing the ratios would have been in his best interest. Hopefully he didn't just completely change therapies,
Yeah.
He was asking if synthetic oil will do the trick, or if I should take a break, and then restart.
Someone else had a similar question too around the effectiveness going away. So it worked, and then it stopped working.
It's really early to tell what the best course of action is and why some people might plateau. All I can say is maybe sometimes taking a break and then going back in is not a bad idea, or upping the dosage frequency of it and seeing if it is in fact dose dependent. Then again, if it's for pain, what is somebody doing to proactively help with their pain? Because are they exercising properly, doing the right therapy, getting the right kind of care, acupuncture, chiropractic care? You know what I mean? So there are a lot of factors. What are the co-drugs that are being utilized that can be both helping and or hurting the protocol? These are all things that can affect the efficacy of and longevity of the treatment.
All right. Well, we had Maka asking a question saying, I have a client that smokes marijuana for relief from depression. Can this natural form of hemp help him?
Well, we do have positive data on the psychiatric benefits of CBD isolated. So I would say certainly worth a try, if not in combination. And the only way to know is just to go ahead and do it. But definitely the research supports it. Depression as well as anxiety. There are oftentimes gray area between those two diagnoses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such a complicated thing too.
Yeah, again, there has been a lot of questions that are coming in specifically around certain types of cancers, certain types of conditions, like diabetes and
chronic pain.
Chronic pain.
Yeah. So my suggestion there would to go online and type in CBD and whatever you're dealing with and see what comes up. There's thousands of studies on this, but we can't speak to the efficacy of legally.
Let me just say this. As I suggested earlier, CBD does work in the periphery. It does work in the immune cells, as well as at the site of the cancer cells themselves. So it is directly anti-carcinogenic, anti-tumorigenic. So it's going to block those very molecules, those very components of the body that are creating the cancer. So it's literally shrinking back cancers of many types, as well as working on enhancing immune function, the killer cells against those cancers. So that's a good sort of general way to look at the CBD. It's good for the body.
Another question by Ricardo. Have there been any studies with QEEG to see how the dose changes the brain? I haven't seen.
For brain, that's another word for brain mapping.
Yeah.
And again, until this is legalized, we have very little as far as, all you'll really find in the literature is when you're looking at it as far as cannabis and or other drug abuse effects, they're looking at brain mapping there. And the cannabis was named in perhaps like one study that way. But as far as its positive effects in brain mapping or negative, we don't have the clinical trials yet to support that data.
Yeah, hopefully.
But in rat studies, they're showing a lot of beneficial changes to rat cerebral cortex and substantia nigra, for instance, in Parkinson's disease. And so there definitely are a lot of positive changes happening in brain tissue, just not in human trials enough yet to really comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of questions also on dosing specifically. So in Soul CBD, there's 30 capsules, and the recommended dose is 1 capsule a day. Some people we've noticed have great effects when they take it right before going to sleep. You can maybe also use it with a little bit of coconut oil or olive oil. Some people get kind of energy, actually. So for them, it's best to take it first thing in the morning. Again, it's very, very, very unique. So we invite you to just give it a try. We have customers currently that are taking 4 capsules a day who are dealing with serious health challenges, and that seems to be doing the trick. So it's really, really individual. So it's, again, try with 1, then try with 2. If 1 helps, fantastic. Some people might need a higher dose. It kind of all depends on what you're battling with.
Yeah, we also got some international questions. Like if we could ship it to Peru. We're looking into those, and we're exploring those. So if we can, we will. Just keep following us, and we'll keep you updated as to what we can and cannot do. So as long as you're on our list, and we can send internationally, you'll be the first to know.
Yep, we know that we cannot ship to Canada. That is one thing that we know for a fact. We are right now researching a bunch of other countries, and I'm going to be setting that up shortly. So just keep in touch. Okay, let's see.
And again, hemp is cannabis. So again, I want to just make a distinction between hemp and cannabis. They're similar plants, but they're not the same.
One contains mostly THC. The hemp plant is very low in THC. Contains more CBD. Correct? Is there any other distinction, Dr. Carlos, that we can maybe give people for, to kind of maybe educate their friends or family who have, this belief that it's the same thing?
You can't get high from hemp. You cannot get high from CBD. That's the most important thing, and it will not show up on a drug test. Those are the most important things to remember.
Yep. And they're sister plants. One just happens to have more THC. The other one has very little THC, but does have CBD in it. And as long as we extract it outside of the country and import it in, it's as legal as hemp seeds or
hemp oil. Yeah, exactly. So you can travel with it. That is no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
Let me just say that in the states where there is no medical marijuana law, you can. Obviously, this is really important for you guys because you're the ones who can legally possess CBD and a product like this, for instance. And those of you who might be in a state where there is a license, or perhaps you are not able to obtain a card because you don't meet the medical criteria, as I said, Arizona is pretty strict. And so you can still use this product in a licensed state where, say, you cannot get a card, or maybe you don't want to get a card. A lot of people just choose not to get a medical marijuana card because they don't want to go into a database. And I totally understand that thinking as well. And if there also feel retribution from employers, I mean, who knows? So we're speaking really to everybody nationwide, at least in the U.S. And like you said, internationally at some point would be really outstanding.
Yeah. Right now, it's a game of really educating. Someone asked, like, what can we do to make this more legal? I think it's important to educate as many people as possible, and then that education will lead to people really, stepping up and taking a lead in activism and really going to their government and local levels and making a change there. So one of the things you could do is share this, and another thing you could do is support these products, so we can continue doing what we're doing. We're on the front lines here. It has not been easy to get these products out there. We've had to jump through a lot of hoops because this is still considered, even though it's legal, it gets kind of bunched in with cannabis because of the lack of understanding, and it isn't easy. So just
for first months we had the product, we had the customers, but we couldn't connect the two. So you can only imagine, kind of just waiting and dealing with so many different issues down the road. But thank goodness everything is behind us, and we can share this information and this amazing product with you.
For now. For now.
You never know.
So I don't know what will happen tomorrow. So if I were in your shoes, I would give this product a try. You have nothing to lose. We put all the risk on us, so you can actually give it a try. We have a guarantee. We're giving you discounts. And just give it a go. You see the link on the screen, soulcbd.com/webclass. Go there and grab a bottle and
use the coupon code WebClass as well to get extra 10% off. We have also a few more people keep asking about replay and the actual slides. So to everyone that have registered for this web class, we know some of you couldn't make it and messaged us if they could please rewatch it. This will be available to everyone. So you can go through this at your own time, maybe again share it with your family or friends, or maybe people that you are considering buying this for.
Let's see, are there any other questions? If anyone has any more questions, feel free to throw them in. Again, it's tricky for us to talk about any specific disease. And go to the Google machine and type in ailment and CBD and see what comes up. So if nothing else has come up, I encourage all of you to go give Soul CBD a try. We've put our heart and soul into it, and we'll be continuing to educate you and do our best to help you out as much as we can. And I think with that, I don't see any more questions coming in. I'll give it another few seconds here because I know we're on a bit of a delay. So let's see if there's any other questions that we may have missed.
And again, we really do appreciate you guys sticking with us today. Thank you for taking the time to educate yourself. Please feel free to share this information far and wide. We want this information in as many hands as possible. It can literally be life-changing and life-saving for some. Okay, let's just refresh this one more time.
Yep, I think we're good. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. Dr. Santo, thank you so much. You've been here for almost 2 hours.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
I said my pleasure. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, right. And we'll chat with you soon.
All right, thank you.
Am I still live with you guys?